There's been quite a bit of drama since our last update on the ongoing impeachment inquiry into President Joe Biden. Not much of it has advanced the impeachment process, however. On today's show, called Hunter and the Impeachment Inquiry, we will review the goings on between Hunter Biden and Congress, as well as the corporate news media's usual shenanigans covering it all. Now, through all of it, we will discover a disturbing trend relating to judgment that the world should know better about but seems to have forgotten. How will this trend affect us prophetically? Well, let's find out together today on Something's Happening Here. All right, friends, today is Thursday. Welcome back to the show. You may have noticed that the shows this week are a little bit longer than our typical 15 to 18 minutes, and that's partly by design. We did talk about that ahead of time, but it's also just partly because I have a lot to say. And we're trying to not arbitrarily put a time limit on ourselves, but the consequence of that is that it's taking considerably longer to record this episode. So just bear with us as we figure this out going forward, and thank you for your patience. Um, in case you're tuning in now and have not been watching the earlier shows in the week, I want to kind of revisit some of the stuff I said on Monday in terms of this is our fourth season, and we are working on some changes for the fourth season. Included in those changes is that we are working toward an interview segment where one of the days of the week will interview somebody else who's not me about some topic on that person's heart or within his or her expertise. And then the rest of the week's shows will be related to the content of that interview somehow. So that's actually a pretty significant change from what we have been used to. And keep your eyes open for that as we work out the details there. Also the removal of the time limit, like I already mentioned, and we are hopefully going to be in an audio only format soon. We're working on that. Hopefully by the time even this airs, you'll be able to find us on your audio podcast outlets like Apple Podcast or Spotify or wherever. I'm not entirely sure where we're going to end up, but we're working on that. So please keep your eyeballs on tdimedia.org to check it out. And obviously keep your ears open for updates as I bring them to you on the show. And lastly, not we as a production company, but I personally am working on a really big project right now, a digital course. It's not just going to be free videos on the internet, but an actual like grad school level Bible study course that is really inclusive of all of the major points of the Bible, all in pursuit of learning and understanding the prophecies in Daniel and in Revelation. So it's a really big project. It'll be a product that people purchase. And I'm encouraging you, if that's in any way interesting to you, to sign up for free at my email list, because my reward for those who sign up through my email list will be a significant discount off of the purchase price, as a thank you for having faith in me at this early stage. So you should have a link in front of you, stevehicksанdassociates.com/giveaway. There you just put in your email address and submit, and it will bring you to another page where you can download for free as a thank you a PDF document all about chiastic structure. Now, if you already know what chiastic structure is, good for you. You know it's a very powerful Bible study tool. And if you don't already know what it is, then this is your chance to correct that problem. So please go to the link, put in your email, download that document, and happy studying. God bless you as you do it. Let's get to the show. Today is Thursday, and we are talking all about being on the eve of something big. So the common theme all week long is here's a story, but probably it's going to get bigger or will lead to something bigger as a result. And today, of course, we cannot be on the verge of something bigger without mentioning the blossoming impeachment effort against President Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. So that's what our topic is today, and we will start discussing the topic with CNN, my favorite outlet to hate. I mentioned on Monday, I think it was, and I'll mention it again. I think CNN is so perfectly bad at what they do that they should be taught in like journalism schools, as what not to do. Oh, um, and actually, I think that's pretty much always true. But today's article is like the kind of like kiss on top of that perfect garbage Sunday, and you'll see why. All right. This article is dated, what's the date? January 14, the day before Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Um, I don't know how much you know already about the drama between Hunter Biden, who's the president's son, and Congress and all of this stuff. So since that's actually I didn't want to go to CNN to learn about it. There's a different reason I went to the article. So let me just kind of bring you up to speed. The impeachment effort is against the president, Joe Biden. But the line of thinking leading to impeachment is all about corruption, like the selling of influence, the selling of Joe as a senator and then the vice president and now president through his son Hunter Biden, peddling that influence in various places all around the world in exchange for hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars. So therefore, Hunter Biden, the son, is really crucial in this investigation phase because it is through his business dealings that the Republicans are hoping to find damning enough evidence against the president to actually impeach him and maybe remove him from office or whatever it is that they have in mind. And I'll just tell you right now, I don't think that even if they come up with a successful impeachment, I don't think it will find a conviction in the Senate for the same reason it didn't with Donald Trump, or I'll say that differently, for similar reasons that it didn't with Donald Trump, because the votes just aren't there in the Senate. It's it's a pretty even 50-50 split with Kamala Harris being the tiebreaker. So the Senate is controlled by Democrats, and they're probably not going to convict a Democrat president on an impeachment charge. But anyway, so that's kind of the backstory. So what's been going on? CNN tells us Comer. Now, who's Comer? Comer is the Republican representative in charge of the House Oversight Committee. He's the chair of that committee, and so he's the one kind of spearheading the investigation and impeachment process. So he, Comer, insists that his job was, quote, never to impeach as GOP doubts grow about Biden impeachment vote. This headline all by itself could be an entire like college course. I don't think it is supportable to say that GOP doubts are growing about an impeachment vote for two reasons. On the one hand, there was never a whole lot of certainty in the first place. You know, the Republicans from the beginning of this were saying like, yeah, maybe we need to learn more first. Let's not rush into a vote. And so the very fact that they're still not rushing into a vote is not really a departure from what's been going on. It's just kind of the way it has been. So I think it's dishonest of CNN to say that doubts are growing, but CNN is chronically dishonest. So that it comes with the territory. But also, in light of what we'll read in our second article, I think we'll come to agree that this headline is really out of context. It's mostly speculation, not reporting of facts. Uh, Comer insists his job was never to. All right, let's read the article. Let's see where CNN wants to take us. Republicans had hoped that Hunter Biden could have helped prove their central allegation that his father, Joe Biden, engaged in a pay to play scheme and acted corruptly while in office. So, okay, we need more backstory. Hunter Biden was subpoenaed by Congress to come and give a deposition about his business dealings and his father's involvement in those business dealings. And that was supposed to be done on paper as like a sworn deposition, not open to the public. So a behind closed doors taking of the deposition with a more public questioning session after that, right? And apparently that's the order of things, and that's how they do things. Now, I'm not really an expert on congressional goings on, so I'm taking their word for it that this is the normal way this happens, where you do the deposition in private first and then graduate up to a public questioning. Um, but in either case, Hunter said no. He said, no, I'm not doing that. I want a public hearing from the very beginning because if I meet with you in private, you're going to twist my words and use it against me and make stuff up. So I'm not going to do that. And he just openly defied the subpoena. And then when the House Republicans kind of rallied around themselves to respond to that, they drafted the right words are escaping me, but it was they wanted to hold Hunter in contempt, and they wrote up a proposal or a language or whatever it is to hold him in contempt. And Hunter Biden actually showed up in Congress while that was happening. He didn't do anything. He just appeared. And so all of this is happening after all of that ridiculous theater. And CNN is drawing the conclusion that because Hunter Biden did not meet with Congress behind closed doors, therefore he's never going to be questioned at all. And well, read the rest of the article. But Hunter Biden refused to testify behind closed doors. And now the GOP may simply assume what they haven't been able to prove, that the bribery scheme actually happened. That paragraph makes my head hurt. He did refuse to testify behind closed doors, at least at first. He did. But who said that means the Republicans are going to simply assume that which they cannot prove? Let's keep reading. They CNN quotes James Comer, the Oversight Committee chairman, in such a way that lends support to their position. This whole like they're going to make stuff up now, but in the bigger picture, we'll see that that's all out of context and not true. Okay, so the article continues. Well, I mean, if he doesn't show up, then I guess we'll just have to wrap it up without him and assume that these were bribes from foreign countries. House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer told CNN, adding that unproven allegations that Hunter Biden was involved in human trafficking and money laundering could also be assumed to be true. In an interview with CNN, Comer gave his latest insight into the committee's investigation, lowering expectations as doubts begin to grow within GOP ranks about whether it will actually lead to a successful impeachment vote of the president. There's so much speculation here. Did you catch it all? The GOP may simply assume that which they have not been able to prove. There's so much speculation. Like even the language is speculative there. And then that last paragraph, lowering expectations as doubts begin to grow. Again, the doubts have always been there. I think the doubts are actually significantly smaller now than they were at the beginning of this whole mess, as evidenced by the Republican created website that's all about putting on display for everybody the evidence they've collected against Joe Biden. We've actually, I don't have it in front of me, but we have put a link to that website on this show in previous episodes. So yeah, I mean, I think doubts are not beginning to grow. I think doubts have always been there and are probably diminishing. So why would Comer say what he said? I have one word for you. You ready for it? Troll. If you have ever posted anything on the internet, you know about internet trolls. You know what trolling is, right? You say something provocative to get a response out of the person that you most of the time disagree with, right? You're trying to get him or her to trip on their words in such a way that lends you as the opposition credibility or whatever, right? I think Comer's trolling them here. And I think that because of the next article we're going to read, but also just because that's the only thing that really makes sense. Comer says, well, if he doesn't show up, then I guess we'll just have to wrap it up without him. What? Like, what kind of criminal case does that? Oh, my witness isn't here, so I guess we're just going to make it up. You know, that's ridiculous. It's illegal. That's immoral. That's ridiculous. And yet, what does he go on to say? He outlines and details the things that they might just have to make up, right? We're going to assume that these were bribes from foreign countries. We're going to assume he was involved in human trafficking. We're going to assume that he was laundering money. He's trolling Hunter Biden to get a response out of Hunter Biden. Do you not get that? Do you not understand that's what he's doing? Check out the date on this article. Sunday, January 14th. What happened the very next day? Monday, January 15th. This article comes from Yahoo News, I guess from something called UPI. I don't know what that is, but it's published on Yahoo News, and it says House impeachment leaders say they'll issue new subpoenas for Hunter Biden. I mean, come on, this is 4D chess stuff, and CNN is so dumb they don't even get it. House Republicans indicated over the weekend they will once again subpoena Hunter Biden after the president's son dropped his opposition to meeting with members of the Judiciary and Oversight committees in private. Now, all the talking heads have already talked about this. Why did Hunter Biden refuse and then renege on his refusal? Why is he agreeing to this now? What is the right thing for the Republicans to do? Blah, 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 blah. Senator Ted Cruz on his podcast did a whole episode about this. I'm sure there are multiple talking heads out there talking about this. I don't want to be another one of them. You can go fill your head with all their opinions all day long. What I'm trying to say is that I believe this is all just trollery because it is literally illegal to just like assume criminal facts. And so the government, no, they're not going to just say that. They're trying to get Hunter Biden to do something. And it looks like it worked, right? It looks like it worked. He said, okay, fine. I will, in fact, meet with you behind closed doors and give you a deposition. All you have to do is send me a new round of subpoenas. And then that is apparently what is going to happen. As of the date of the recording of this show, I am not sure if those subpoenas have been issued or not. I certainly haven't heard anything about them being issued. And I think there's some sort of delay time. Like, again, I'm not a legal expert here, but I'm pretty sure like if you say I'm going to issue the subpoena, there's a few days or a week or so before it actually happens. So we're not at the end of this story, clearly. But don't you see? My point is twofold, right? That it looks to me like the Republicans are getting from Hunter Biden what they wanted to get from Hunter Biden, and that Comer trolled Biden through CNN to help make it happen. It's like a veiled threat. Well, fine, you're not going to talk to me. I'm just going to make stuff up, man. Is that what you want? You know? And lo and behold, it got the reaction out of Mr. Biden Jr., that they seem to have wanted. So, the actual moral point for today is not about Hunter Biden. It's not even about Joe Biden. It's about CNN. CNN. Why does CNN even exist? Okay. The moral lesson we're going to get is from the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 19. Deuteronomy is the fifth book in the Bible. It's close to the front there, the last book of the Pentateuch, so to speak. And I'm going to chapter 19 and reading verse 15. It says, one witness shall not rise against a man concerning any iniquity or any sin that he commits. By the mouth of two or three witnesses, the matter shall be established. Do you think this whole thing would be much more favorable to CNN if they had followed that advice? Because what actually happened is they had a conversation with James Comer. That conversation was wildly speculative, apparently. Well, we're just going to make stuff up then. And then, based on that one conversation with one guy, and I'm going to use the word illegal, right? It's downright illegal contents, like, because you can't just make stuff up in a court of law. Based on that one thing, CNN went on this whole tirade about how the GOP can't have the votes anymore and the doubts are growing and they're just going to fabricate stuff. And none of that turned out to be true. Maybe, just maybe, CNN should have parked itself in a corner and waited for a second or third person to confirm this from James Comer, right? They could have done the journalistic thing and simply reported that conversation. And that, in theory, would have gotten the same reaction out of Hunter Biden that they wanted. Maybe CNN actually made it worse for Biden, right? With all of its crazy language and speculation, maybe that actually scared him into giving the Republicans what they wanted more than anything the Republicans did. This is true across the board. Even if we're not talking about the president and his son, whatever the matter is, God's position is clear. You can't draw a conclusion based on one piece of evidence. You need two testimonies or three to establish something as fact. You need to actually know what you're talking about before you can say something with authority. And you can know for sure, friends, that as this marches forward, as the deposition takes place, as the votes happen, as I think and hope, although I don't know for sure because I'm not a prophet, but as probably an impeachment is formally opened against Joe Biden, all of the same things that I'm condemning now, this like media malfeasance and the speculation and all this stuff, that's going to keep happening. That's going to keep happening. The first show we did this week was about Trump's kind of historic victory in the Iowa caucuses. We only looked at a couple news stories as a result of that, but if you just like if you did a Google search about this topic, really could probably do it even right now, but certainly in the very immediate aftermath of it, you will see that the corporate media went bonkers. It's like their brains turned to liquid and dripped out their ears. They went into full, I think Ben Shapiro called it full panic mode because they have spent almost a decade now doing everything that they can to speculate Donald Trump out of existence. And now it seems like it's not working. And my point is they've kind of painted themselves into a corner here where for all of these years, Trump is the bad guy, Biden is the good guy, and any evidence to the contrary of that is just dismissed, right? Or called conspiracy or whatever. It's just not even, or it's banned from the internet. It's just not even considered. Well, what happens when reality asserts itself and Trump becomes the Republican nominee for the third time and Biden looks like he might be facing an impeachment and maybe losing his job? I mean, that it's like if the media were a slug, that's like we're just opening a can of salt right on top of that slug. And so what do? They can't start reporting honestly because that would be a judgment against how they've reported for the last 7 years. So they're just going to keep doubling down. We're going to see more and more and more of this like crazy stuff from CNN and New York Times and MSNBC and Washington Post and ABC and NBC and CBS and all of them. Like we're just going to keep seeing it and seeing it and seeing it. I said this to my producer recently. I would not be surprised if there was some kind of large scale violence between now and the election day. And I say that not because I'm aware of any specific thing, certainly not because I want any specific thing. In fact, I said that to my producer. My number one prayer is that that does not happen, that there is no violence, that we all make it through this election season according to the rule of law and the will of the people. But everybody is so polarized right now because of this media malfeasance, because of all this like chronic gaslighting from all of our major outlets, that how could it not end in violence? No matter how the election goes, whether Biden is impeached or not, someone's unhappy. Whether Trump wins the nomination or not, or the election or not, someone is unhappy. So every single day, I'm praying for peace. I'm praying for the peace of God to descend upon everybody and help us remember the Deuteronomy 19 principle. We don't judge based on insufficient evidence. Every matter must be established by two or three witnesses. We have to be certain. We cannot be speculative, because if we are, then we're no better than CNN. So I'm going to leave you with that today. Please join me in my prayer for the peace of God, the peace that surpasses all understanding, to live in the hearts of every believer and even every non-believer. We're at a fraught time in history, and I don't want to see bad things happen. I don't want to see fires. I don't want to see riots. I don't want to see blood. About half of the people are going to be unhappy no matter what happens. And I think there's a fair amount of circumstances under which no one will be happy at all. And I just pray that God will be the victor, even in those unfortunate circumstances. So pray with me, please. Lord God in heaven, we need you. It feels like more than ever right now. We need you to keep us calm. We need you to keep us centered. We need you to keep our minds on the cross and the gospel and not the impeachment or the election. Father, I don't even know if that's a realistic prayer, but you are the God of all flesh, and nothing is too hard for you. So, in Jesus' holy name, restore to us the sanity that our corporate media have stolen away from us over the last 7 or 8 years. And I pray, if it is possible within your will, that you would really do some serious flushing of house at all of these major corporate media outlets and put more honest reporters in their places. And if that's a pipe dream, then Lord, come soon, because the return of Jesus is the only way out of any of this. So seal us for that day, forgive our sins, and allow us to welcome you when you come to take us home. Amen. What can I add to that? Amen. All right, friends. You can be sure we're going to continue to talk about this impeachment as it goes forward in time. But for now, I'm going to say bye to you. Get a great night's sleep, and I'll see you back here for our final show of the week, our first AI update of the new year. So get some sleep. May God bless you. I'll see you back here on Friday.